There is a whole world of cinema to be discovered. You just have to overcome that 1-inch barrier known as subtitles. This is That 1-Inch Barrier, a podcast devoted to all things international film. I'm Nick LaBarry, here as always with Josh Barry and Kieran Griffiths. Gentlemen, welcome to another Academy Awards special. I feel like we can call them specials now because the Academy Awards are a big deal.
Yeah.
We're coming into the Academy Awards. This is a
up.
very aptly timed episode,
It is
actually.
yeah.
Very much so. And we are counting down, obviously, last time we did 2019's Another Round. And today we're going to do 2018's Alfonso Cuarón returning to the podcast with Roma. A film I believe we had all seen.
No, Kieran hadn't.
You hadn't seen Roma?
No.
We did
First
discuss
time for me.
this, that's right.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool that we've had Alfonso return to the
Yes,
podcast.
I do.
If you go back to my Etu Mama Tabien episode, a lot of the discourse around that movie and sort of how it speaks to a time and a place in Mexico, I think is going to be a very reminiscent conversation today.
Yes.
With that. But it is a film, it's obviously from Mexico. Let me get up my thing here. And written, directed, shot, co-edited, produced by Alfonso.
Sorry.
No, that's right. That's all
Get
right.
up my thing here.
Let me get up my thing
That's
here.
a different show.
That's 6-inch Barry. I always forget. I always forget we do two very similarly named podcasts.
That was the second episode we ever did, I think.
It was early. It was
Yeah.
quite early. Yeah, and
And
it
then
really
we did Amoros Perros probably about a year or so
it
ago.
really kicked off the horny side of our fan base because
Because you
based
guys
on the
made
numbers,
it very clear that that was what you wanted.
Yes,
from.
you
that's
love the sexed up episodes. But Alfonso Cuarón is all over this film, and it's very much, he spoke in a lot of interviews that this was a passion project for him. This is a story he was very adamant on telling on the big screen. It's a Netflix release, and this was one of those movies that, especially for the Academy Awards, sort of changed the game in streamers being genuinely eligible for awards plays and how much money these guys were going to put behind those campaigns. So it's quite an interesting and quite monumental film in release-wise, I guess, for that.
Because I don't. Was it Cannes that said they wouldn't show it because of streaming?
It was, yeah.
Sounds like a very Ken thing. to do.
Yes.
And
We love
then
the French, but yeah.
Alfonso came out and said, you got to get on board. Like the reason he
This
chose
is-
streaming was to get it to more people.
Yes, yeah.
Which
Which
It's like the
works,
change
right?
from, film to digital, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like get on board or
Yes.
get left behind.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting, just tangent. I was listening to some interviews with Tarantino and David Lynch after Lynch passed away recently.
Yeah.
And Tarantino is a very old school filmmaker.
Yeah.
He swears by film and hates digital and thinks it's the worst thing that's ever happened in the history of humanity.
He's like, movies are dead.
Yeah,
And I was like,
cinema died with
Come
the
on,
advent of the
QT.
digital camera. Whereas David Lynch, who's, from an era even before Tarantino, was like, fuck yeah, digital's great.
Yeah,
Embrace
yeah.
It's the way the world is now. We're going to do stuff on digital.
he made his weirdest movie on digital, which is Inland Empire.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm going to use this to its fullest extent.
So-
to the point where you cannot see a lot of stuff in some ways.
I think, I think streaming is and has been the new big thing. And I think
Yes.
we've seen that in releases that have come out and have been in that awards contention.
But there was-
but I think Roma was kind of the watershed moment.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely, because I think there was definitely a time where streaming was synonymous with direct to DVD. And if you recall direct to DVD, when you went to like Blockbuster and Video Easy, it was like, oh, this is like the 9th Under Siege sequel with Steven Seagal. Like, there was definitely a time where these streaming releases were like, oh, these suck. And at some points today, they still suck.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for something as, I guess for lack of a better word, like prestigious as Roma to then be released on Netflix and also get a theatrical release beforehand, not just for Academy Awards eligibility, but the fact that people got to see it in cinema and experience this story in a way that Alfonso would want it to be experienced.
But since then, we've had things like The Irishman.
Yep.
Martin Scorsese making a film that, while The Irishman did have a cinema release, I'm right in saying that it is a Netflix
it's a
production.
Netflix one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And what was the other one that I was trying to think of? You have Beasts of No Nation.
Yeah, that would a very prestigious. So they do it quite frequently now, especially with their Oscar plays like
Oscars,
Maestro,
Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems
Yeah.
So
was
we've
a
had some big Academy Award nominated, prestigious films.
yeah.
The other thing with Roma is that it is semi-autobiographical.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Which we have seen a bit of a recent trend of with filmmakers making films that are they're not going to outright say, "Oh, this is about my life," but it's about their lives.
They're retelling
we've had
these.
The Fabelmans with Spielberg, Belfast.
Yeah, very much
with
with
Kenneth Branagh,
Yeah.
which is often forgotten about.
I loved
a couple of years
Belfast.
ago.
That movie was great.
I did as well.
Oh man,
but
sort
yeah,
of feel good.
sort of a portrait of Alfonso Cuarón's upbringing in Mexico and sort of the story he wanted to tell about the people in his life.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as we've talked about, time and place.
Yes,
Right, which we've
very
seen
much,
in all of the Cuarón films that we've talked about. But this feels like the culmination of everything he's done.
Yeah,
It feels like
does.
everything in Alfonso Cuarón's career led up to Roma.
Yes.
big time.
Yeah.
And you can, I mean, just based on the accolades that it was nominated for, you can definitely tell this was something that Cuarón put a lot of himself into. So the most nominated film, international film since Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon in 2000. So it was nominated for Best Director, Best Foreign Language Film, and then at the Golden Globes, Best Picture, Best Director. It was Best Film across the board. In
10
pretty much
Oscar
every
nominations.
10 Oscar nominations is
And I think it
wild.
went home with 3 from memory.
Yes. So
First film from Mexico to win Best Foreign Language Film.
crazy.
And he was the first foreign language film, became the first foreign language film to win Best Director,
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
which is insane that it took till then. And then we had Bong Joon-ho the year after.
Yes, which is awesome, right? And
Yeah.
then that went on to win Best Film as well. So
Good few years
It was
for
great
international films
stretch.
there.
It was also the first black and white film to win the Academy Award for Best Cinematography in 25 years.
yeah, wow.
Previous film was Schindler's List.
Oh,
Yeah, right.
true. Yeah.
There's loads of like.
It's just,
It was,
'Cause
it was
he-
the first thing to do this.
yeah. Because I think it was the first where he was director and cinematographer or something.
I think it was the
or-
first time a director had won Best Cinematographer, being cinematographer
Yes,
and director.
yes,
Right,
yes,
And that
yes,
was
right.
all because his usual cinematographer, who is it Emmanuel Lubezki?
it might be, yeah.
He did Gravity and
Children of Men and stuff like that. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was purely because Lubezki was unavailable.
Yeah. Okay.
And he was
This is
like,
like,
well,
I'll
if
do
he
it.
can't do it, I guess I'll do it myself.
I'll do it myself.
Which I love that, right? Like,
Yeah,
he's like, no,
totally.
this is the only guy I trust, and
Yes,
if it ain't him, it's
Emmanuel
gonna be me.
Lubezki.
And then you
yeah,
win an
yeah.
Oscar for it.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Lubezki was
So
hitting
what
me,
was
I'm
he?
like, fuck, I'm not getting any more work, am I?
I taught that guy way too much.
He was filming potentially, if he wasn't available then, around that time
Revenant?
he did Song to Revenant was a few years before. He did Song to Song with Terrence Malick and then didn't do anything for 5 years and filmed till Amsterdam with what's his dickhead face, David O. Russell.
That is a great looking, terrible film, to be fair.
That is true.
No,
that
I'm
is
not
fair.
saying
Yeah. But David O. Russell is a renowned asshole. But we're not here to talk about him. So,
But
what's crazy is this is a $15 million budget too.
Yeah, and did you see 15
Wild.
million budget?
Yeah.
Which amazing.
Yeah.
And then they spent 25 million on the Oscar.
On the campaign. So the Oscar campaign was more than the...
Yeah.
Which, if that doesn't scream about the issue with the politics
Yeah.
of awards
Yeah.
campaigning, then just do what they did this year and just find everyone's dirt on Twitter and just make every nominee look like a complete
The Oscars
douchebag.
would be much
After
more
they're
interesting.
After they're nominated, be like, you're a
Everyone
piece
just
of
dig
shit.
deep.
Like, just turn it into a smear campaign.
You can
Yeah.
do
Be
it for
so much
free.
more
You can
entertaining.
do
Yeah,
it for free. You don't have to pay
I think it
25
does
million.
speak, though. I think it does speak to how foreign directors manage to achieve so much more
Sure.
with so much less.
Yeah.
The example that I always sort of bring up as a recent example of a film that had a far bigger budget than it really needed to is Air, the Ben Affleck
Oh,
film.
yeah.
Good film.
Yeah.
This is
But
an
it had
interesting
like
one, though.
$100 million budget.
So this
Yeah.
is interesting.
Which is insane.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So there is a reason behind that, and you're going to see that again with The Accountant 2, which that trailer looks fucking awesome.
Is it
That's
just
not
that
what
Ben
we're here
Affleck is that expensive to hire?
for. No, so they're from they're all made from Matt Damon, Ben Affleck's company, Artist Equity, and what they do is their whole thing is making sure everyone who's involved is either getting paid like the best rate that they can,
Okay.
no matter what position you are in the film, or you have an option to back end from the film's box office from that.
Well, now I feel like it.
So no, but it's not many people know
it's
about
like
it, and
fair
they
trade,
haven't really talked about it. Yeah, pretty much. Like
Yeah,
rather than being like, oh, you're gonna get like X amount, but you've got to work 18-hour days. So
Yeah.
they're like, no, we're gonna do the proper like 9-10 hour days, but you're gonna get paid for those days you work.
okay. So this is
their,
what a movie
their
really
budget's
costs.
yeah, pretty
Rather-
much.
rather
Yeah,
than-
yeah.
It's not just
than-
people working
I think
for
for free,
breadcrumbs
yeah.
because they're so desperate
Yes.
to work.
And
in
like
it.
no crunch time and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's properly like
Yeah,
making
okay.
sure artists are taken care of.
Oh,
So
As if I couldn't like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
I know.
That's really nice.
So it's
really
great.
nice.
Like the full details of it I probably look into more, but they spoke about it when they were doing the air junket. They're
Okay.
like, this is
That's
their
why.
company
That's
called
amazing.
Artist Equity.
That is really
But
good.
I think we've definitely seen, when we've talked about some of these films and the budgets for them, we often sit down and go, holy shit, how did they make it for that much?
There's a scene in this where you go like, if $15 million is the only budget, where there's a protest, there's like violence happening on the street, and you're watching that scene being like, that's a big set piece.
Yeah.
And Alfonso Cuarón shows such restraint in not showing a lot of what's happening, but you're like, that wouldn't have been cheap to make with the amount of extras and having to shut down that street and stuff. It's
the
pretty
amount of
incredible.
extras.
Oh, for that scene
Yeah,
alone, the protest scene would have been wild.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's I guess what you would do for the passion projects.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and he's taken on multiple roles behind the camera for this film, hiring a no name in your leading star, because this is a story that is told through the perspective of a housewife to a reasonably wealthy family in Mexico City, and it's just sort of her dealing with the aspects of her life. She's trying to find love. She's trying to, you know, she's into a guy goes off to the army, finds out she's pregnant, so she's trying to deal with that. She doesn't want to lose her job because she doesn't want to lose her money. But then all the drama within the family is sort of taking a toll on her as well, because the mother of this family is kind of being like, oh, like, my husband's cheating on me, maybe.
Yeah.
Like,
But
she's having to deal with the emotional stress of that. Yeah, I'm not
telling.
telling the family. And so she's sitting there like, yeah, cool, like I might be pregnant. And it's played far more sincerely than that, but it's like one of those, it's funny because it's almost could be like soap operatic as a story, because the amount of just like twists and turns and reveals that just naturally occur. But it's this very sincere portrait of how tough it would have been to be an early 20s Indigenous Mexican woman during a time of such, again, Alfonso Cuarón loves it, political unrest within his country. And the struggles of just doing that, not just to survive, but emotionally as well.
And the class divide as well, which...
Oh, big, there we go.
We keep talking about it. We sound like a broken record
but it's
talking
huge
about class.
in international cinema, isn't it? Right?
Yeah. You know, so we've got this upper middle class family that have, you know, this big house and multiple nice cars and basically live-in maids. And, you know, a chauffeur and all these things. And then the story is told from the perspective of the maid. And I think that's such an interesting perspective to take for this kind of film. And I think it's really powerful and really telling that Cuarón is telling this semi-autobiographical story. But about a person in his life rather than from his own perspective. Whereas you think about the films we talked about in The Fabelmans, and that's told from Spielberg in quotation marks point of view.
Sure.
Belfast is told from Branner's point of view, both as children.
Well, I mean, one of those things in filmmaking is told, write what you know, right? Like, write things to, you know, from your perspective. So I think it's very much Cuarón flexing an incredibly great creative muscle to be able to do it from not just the perspective of a maid, but a woman during this time.
Because this is so much a film about the female experience.
It's big.
It's about women. You know, and it's about their struggles and men who can't be relied upon. So I think for a male writer and director to tell this in such an earnest way.
Men who can't be relied on, but do incredible stick fighting skills naked. I'll say that scene,
such a scene,
is phenomenal.
That really came out of nowhere.
That was like, also a part of me.
I just switched on to Kung Fu Hustle. Like, what's
Tune in next week. Tune in next month. That'll make lots of sense. But like that's no, I love that scene because that's almost Alfonso being like, this is the dickhead she's having to put up with. Like, this is a guy who they've just had sex. He's taken a piss, and then he comes out with his fighting stick, and he's like, "Look how cool I am."
He pulls down the shower rail.
That's the shower rail. That's right. He pulls it down.
He dismounts the shower so he can get the bloody shower curtain rod. And then he starts doing martial arts tricks with it.
She's just in bed, blanket up, just being like, "Good for you." And then he pisses off. He's like, "I could go to the army now." Sorry. Later.
Midway through a movie.
Oh, heartbreaking. But again, Cuarón being like, cinema would have been a formative experience for him growing up. So putting her in.
They've gone to the cinema a few times.
There's a few times they've gone to movies that, and using that as again, talking about the classism, it was an affordable escape during that time as well for those people to be able to go to the cinema and forget about what was happening. Because I think if I saw it here just before, the Corpus Christi massacre is what all the protests were about. So it was pretty much like the people revolting against the paramilitary groups.
So it was a student-led protest And then basically there was like a paramilitary group that was backed by the state.
Yes,
who kind of went in to break up violently these otherwise pretty peaceful protests.
Yeah.
Which again speaks to the civil unrest at the time and stuff that's obviously very personal to Cuarón and stuff that he remembers from his own childhood, because this takes place in Mexico across 1970 and 1971.
It was a massacre that resulted in 120 demonstrators being killed, and among them the youngest was a 14-year-old. So you kind of go like, that's why no one of the students are revolting, and that's sort of, I think, the way Cuarón almost has this made, I apologize, Cleo, observing it from the outside, sort of understanding what's going on, but also, I mean, she's also pregnant at the time, so she's not going to get involved with the protests, but there's like a ticking time bomb in that moment of like, does she sort of join this revolt that represents where she is in life, or does she have to then go back into the safety net of this family who are taking care of her, who give her a job, and they're quite nice to her, you know what I mean? Like, they don't treat her like absolute shit, but it's a very very interesting, complex sort of thing for her to deal with, Cleo, as well.
Yeah. I think he balances that really well with, like, they're watching TV. She's picking up plates from beside them, and I'm thinking, oh man, this is a bit. But then she puts the plates down on a coffee table, and then sits down beside them, and the little kid puts his arm around her, and it straight away brings you over to, they really care.
They care about her,
yeah. She's part of the family.
Yeah,
The kids love her. Yeah. She's basically a surrogate mother to some of them.
Well, she's more of a, like, that's the big thing I got. She's more of a mother
than the mother.
Yeah, and but the father's not even there.
No, but at the same time, they're always quick to remind her of her place in some instances.
Yes.
Like, it's sort of that parasite thing, right? Of
very
like,
much so.
Totally.
Oh yeah, you're part of the family until you do something wrong, and then we will remind you that you're lucky
very
to be
funny that the two movies that back-to-back won Best International Feature have that very big on classism, as we were talking about, but have that sort of same relationship between a maid or a helper, essentially, and a much more well-off family.
It's almost as if we were going through some sort of like massive social awakening to the problems of classism.
Who would have thought, right? Yeah.
And we all kind of woke up and went, oh shit, the rich people aren't our friends.
Fuck the rich people.
Maybe we should eat them all.
And it's great that it's from two completely different perspectives. One is Cuarón reflecting on that time, and the other one's Bong Joon-ho being like, let's do the most like fun movie I can make out of this as well. They both hit in very different sort of ways. And it's interesting how Roma, well, for me anyway, becomes a more personal story as it goes on. I think you're observing so much as an outsider, and as you get to know Cleo, more and more, it becomes more of a story about her rather than just the situation. We get some pretty insane scenes towards the end of the film. There's an incredible one shot, which is the most heartbreaking thing you'll ever see. And then another huge one shot towards the end where we do see the true love that comes from that family as well. So it's far more like, it's like a developing personal story, I guess.
I read that heartbreaking scene.
Yes.
They're all real doctors and nurses.
Wow.
And it was shot once.
I wanted to actually, because it was your first time seeing it. Did you know about this scene?
No, I knew nothing about this film going
into it.
Wow.
Okay.
I literally nothing. I knew that it was a film about a family in Mexico. It was a period drama. And it was directed by Alfonso. And that was all I knew about it. It was one of those ones that it was on my list since 2018 when it came out. And there was always just a reason to watch something else. I knew that it was pretty sad, and it is. So, I mean, I feel like you have to be in the right yourself for that sort of film. So it was, real, just complete brand new experience for me.
And did you see it in the cinema when it came out? Or did you wait till it came out on Netflix?
I'm pretty sure I watched it at Netflix.
Okay, because I saw it in the cinema. And the sound design is incredible. They play, so there's... When there's people talking behind Cleo, the audio comes from the back speakers. Like, it's the sound mixing's incredible.
I fully noticed that yesterday.
On your
the surround sound. And
true.
It was like flying around.
That's awesome.
It's really interesting as well because the sound in it is so unusual because there's no real score.
True. Yeah.
A lot of the dialogue is very quiet. Like, people speak very softly. It's almost as if I think you could. Not that I would recommend it, but I think you could watch this film on mute. And still know exactly the full story.
What's going on.
And I think...
And get the same impact.
And I think that speaks to it being a film about feeling, not thinking.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a film that you engage with on an emotional level more so than on a mental level.
Yeah.
And I think the visual storytelling of Cuarón is really powerful here. And I think
it is.
compared to the films that we've done of his on the show, like Et tu mamá también and Amores Perros, which are very vibrant and sort of chaotic, and the camera is very, very frantic and in your face. This is so observational.
It's very still.
The cameras, there's lots of slow pans and tilts. It's very stationary.
Yeah.
There's lots of long, uninterrupted takes.
It's a very patient movie. Yeah.
And it's shot as well on like the cleanest, most high-res digital.
Oh, it looks
I've ever seen. It's so crisp.
Yeah.
Which is such a contrast to the black and white thing, right? So you've got this black and white thing that's set in the 70s, and most filmmakers would go, okay, let's make it look filmic. Make it look like it was shot in the 70s time. You look at something like The Brutalist. Like Colbert, using a film stock that hadn't been used since the 60s. Like, we're going to make this look like a film from the 60s.
Yeah.
Whereas Cuarón is like, no, we're going to use like super clean, super fresh digital cameras.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's so crisp.
Yeah.
It looks
some
incredible.
of the best cinematography I have seen in a film in a long
Just
time.
the opening shot alone of the driveway getting washed with the water, and it's so clear that you can see the plane in the sky in the reflection of
the
the
planes
water.
are a recurring motif.
Very recurring, because it
but
closes with the plane going across the sky.
I only read that not too much, but where they were filming, a plane was going over every 5 minutes.
So it was
he just
purely
started
coincidental.
filming. But he did, there was something, hang on one sec.
So I was trying to think,
That's
I was like,
super-
is it sort of about like,
the idea of
all
wanting
these
to
people-
escape as well.
It was
like-
something, it was actually, especially the opening scene was about that.
Right.
Or just being able to...
The idea of knowing you can get out of here.
That's right, yeah.
But I was even thinking like, is it something about like you've got, this you've got Cleo going through this really awful time in her life and this family going through this tough time, and yet there's just these people on their way home, on their way to a holiday, on their way to business. The world is just happening everywhere and all the time while all this is going on. Which I think is great. I love when films make you
think about
thinking about stuff.
I love the way
it was a symbol of a transient situation, stating that there's a universe that is broader than the life that these characters have.
Which is probably a more well-worded and short way of saying what I was trying to get at.
I love the way Cuarón, while we're just talking about those sorts of like little things, the way he sort of denotes a passage of time passing is the driveway, and how the deterioration of that is sort of very... If he uses dog shit on a driveway...
Cinematic dog shit.
It's so incredible, isn't it? Because it not just shows you how much time has passed, but the downfall of this family unit, as well as the mum, who is pretty certain that her husband's having an affair and stuff, just sort of starts losing her way as well. And just that deterioration of the family unit, literally shown through how much dog shit's on a driveway, is so smart. It's so creative, because then you're sitting there going like, oh, okay, this is,
because she did just clean it up.
Cleo's just cleaned up. It was Cleo's pregnant now, she's not clean, and now all of it, I'm like, oh my God, this is covered. When the car comes in, it's just like, she's drunk and coming alongside. It's such a...
But
another heartbreaking scene,
I also slightly got mistaken. So Amores Perros isn't Cuarón.
Oh, it's Inarritu.
It's Inarritu.
I've been saying,
yeah.
I'm getting my Mexican
but
direction.
very much.
No, they were friends.
Yeah.
But as I was watching it, I'm like, they've definitely these dog themes.
Yeah.
Because obviously Amores Perros. But
did we talk about that with Amores Perros in regards to like, because just that many dogs around in Mexico at that time? And so,
They're part of like what do they call them? The Three Amigos.
That's right.
Inarritu, Guillermo del Toro, and Alfonso Cuarón. There's such similarities.
We get new Inarritu
this. And Et tu mamá también.
We get a new Inarritu movie next year. It's either this year, late this year, or next year.
I saw that.
Has he done anything since? Oh, Bardo was his
He did
last one,
Bardo,
wasn't it?
but he's got Tom Cruise is in this. Inarritu
I
movie.
saw.
Sold.
Who else is in it?
I can't remember. Tom Cruise and Inarritu. I'm like, sign me up, baby.
I'm glad you pointed that out because someone has probably been listening to this for the last half an hour
He's
going,
a fucking
"You're
idiot."
fucking idiot.
They're probably already
I
written
think you
down.
think all Mexican movies are the same.
Go and delete your comment that you've just written and feel bad about yourself.
They stopped listening after that point. They're like, I hate these guys.
don't know
What a
what
bunch of racists. Thinking all Mexican directors are the same.
we'd be wrong not to bring. Interesting. I've just read this when I was looking up the actress, but Roma was shot in sequence as well.
Yes, I saw
which
that.
is incredible. But Yalitza Aparicio, Aparicio probably in the Mexican pronunciation, her first film.
Yeah,
and she's not an actress.
No,
like it's not like it's her acting debut as an actress.
No, she's
basically
never
just
acted.
a woman from a random village in Mexico that Cuarón, because the Cleo is based on a maid that Cuarón had as a child.
Yes.
Who basically raised him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who is in Y tu mamá también.
Is she really?
Wow.
She's made some cameos and brief appearances in several of his films.
Oh, that's awesome.
In Y tu mamá también, she's in the scene where she brings Diego a sandwich. Do you remember?
Yes.
So that's the real... and that's who the film's
so
dedicated to, Lebo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he basically went around Mexico trying to find the perfect person to represent Lebo or Cleo. And
this is
and she's amazing.
She's incredible.
Like
not just for someone who's never acted before.
No.
She's just phenomenal.
But what I think works so well, and I don't want to say this is the case, but if there was sort of a trepidation or a nervousness in front of the camera, it works the timid nature of Cleo.
Exactly.
This isn't a big performance, and the fact that she was nominated, did she win as well the Academy Award? She was nominated for Best Supporting or Best Lead Actress.
She was nominated. I don't think she won.
No. So she's nominated for Best Lead Actress.
Yeah,
for this
wow.
film.
I didn't
but
know
it's
that,
such a grounded, timid, to herself performance, and because it needs to be, because at that time, if you were a maid who was going to like step out of line, like not good things are going to happen. I wonder. I'm curious whether the nervousness of being not just in your first film, but being in an Alfonso Cuarón film that's going to be on Netflix all around the world, and you kind of go, holy shit. If that plays into sort of that reserved character nature of the character, which is, I think, however she got there, it works. Like
Cuarón obviously liked what he saw.
He saw, and it paid off.
Yeah,
she's
definitely
incredible.
because she's amazing.
The big scene, that big one scene, like her emotional response to it is just
without overacting.
Oh,
it's not
man.
this big performance which we see so much in Hollywood productions.
You could hear a pin drop in this. I saw it on the opening weekend when it came out, and it was probably like half full, like 6 o'clock on a Friday, a whole lot of oldies, and you could just hear a pin drop in that scene, like that, like just.
But it's really powerful. It's really moving, and I think she does a fantastic job of coming across as very reserved and timid and sort of uncomfortable in her surroundings and in herself, because she's a very small woman as well. But there's this real sort of internal strength and resolve to her.
And that's what Cuarón had spoken about. I remember when this was doing its campaign trail, he was talking about how this is a movie celebrating that inner strength of not just women, but this woman that he had so much affection for as well, and how it's not always seen. Because on the outside,
she gets so much shit thrown at her throughout the movie, just terrible thing after terrible thing, while she's still just expected to clean up after this family that aren't all that grateful for her, even if they keep telling her that she's part of the family. But the inner strength to keep going and pushing through it, whatever kind of life throws her, it's really beautiful.
It is, it's
I think something that I didn't really realize, and the film doesn't touch on too much, is that, as you said, Nick, she's an indigenous Mexican woman.
Yes,
which naive me didn't really realize.
I didn't know it. I didn't know it until I read up about it.
Of Mexican people. I assumed naively, again, Mexican people were Mexican people.
Sure.
But, there are more, I guess, in quotation marks, white Mexican people, and then you have the indigenous Mexican population who live away from the major cities. And so there's that thing as well of they're all these kind of more upper middle class white-ish Mexicans. And she's part of that indigenous ethnic group. So that's kind of like a sort of unspoken tension there as well.
For sure.
Do they look down on her because she's not, she doesn't look
just another layer to this
background
complex relationship.
It's not the same language.
No, it's not. No,
I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah,
because at the start it comes up and it says Spanish. The subtitles will be Spanish. And the ones in brackets are Mexican.
So mine were in italics.
Okay.
If they were speaking in the indigenous language, it was in italics.
I wondered why that was. So
and then it says something about any other language won't be subtitled.
Which the English, I don't think.
No,
subtitled because there is a bit
when they go to the river.
Also, this is the scene that I'll ask a bit of a question about. But the fires are happening.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that random guy comes and does a song.
That's yeah.
And that sounds like Nordic or like
something.
And
there's something going on there.
There's no subtitles.
No.
So
I was Googling that, being like, someone please explain this scene to me.
Yeah.
The best explanation I could find, and I have no idea if it's true, it was literally just a random Reddit comment that I thought sounded pretty legit.
Okay.
Was like, being from the perspective of Cuarón as a child, he's sort of remembering that, you know, even though there was this fire happening, because they go out on a family vacation to stay with some other rich friends at New Year's, and then one night the forest nearby catches fire. Yeah. So they're all trying to sort of fight this fire. And then we have this figure emerge dressed in this sort of bizarre costume, who then just starts singing what sounds like a Nordic folk song.
Yeah.
That's not really addressed. But the comment said that, like, it's like, even though all this stuff's happening, the thing that sticks out in Cuarón's mind is that random drunk uncle just singing a song while the fire's burning.
Yeah.
You know, just completely
the recollection
what's
of
going
that.
on. It's like, that's the thing he
like
focused
that.
on.
And
I was like, that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
But
makes
there's
sense.
a couple of scenes that I'm like, what is happening?
But and
that scene's interesting as well, because you've got like a lot of the, I guess, almost like servants or they're like proper
all
trying
the
to put it
maids
out.
together.
Some of the people who were just attending are just stood there with a wine glass and a cigarette, you know. Kind
Literally,
of
one of the rich guys is standing there just with his brandy, being like, "Oh yes, fire,
that's right.
Peasants,
But
do something about it."
You really get that class divide there, obviously. With that,
how good this national tragedy of this fire, and he's like, I hope it doesn't ruin our vacation. That's exactly the
definitely
mentality.
that divide with the language.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that.
Because she's, they all call her Cleo, but then her friend calls her Juanita. What is?
Oh, that's right. No, she does. Yeah. Call it something else. Yeah, it might have been Juanita. Yeah. But it's so interesting, and the subtlety of just having it as so yours is in brackets, mine was in italics.
Yeah, okay.
Just having that, it's so well done. I think it's just I normally struggle with slice of life movies, very much.
I had the question for you for this because you do.
These are ones I do struggle with.
And as I put this on, I'm like, I remember this being this slice of life. I mean, there's still a fair bit going on.
I think there's much more going on.
There is much more going on.
There's definitely an overarching narrative.
Much more.
I remember the first time seeing it, I think I gave it like a 3.5 or 4.
Okay.
Because I was so swept up in the technicality of it as well.
Yeah.
But I do remember it being like, it's slow. It is a very, like, as Kieran was saying, even just with the way it's shot, it's a very patient movie.
It's slow. I really noticed this time just the camera pans.
Yeah, the one
So
where
slowly
she's cleaning up the house on the second
I was
floor.
24 when this came out, 23 or 24 when this came out. So
basically a child.
Not much has changed. You should see me try and pour water in a bottle. That's a little fun joke for us three and
nobody else.
That no one else will get. But I feel like I remember being so swept up in the technicality of it and stuff. And I thought the performance was great. And despite not fully understanding all the context, I think doing this podcast has really helped me watch international film in a lens of what the country was going through at the time. I think that we nailed that so early with some of the films we watched is very helpful.
I think that we discussed it to Mama Tambien for that.
Yeah.
We've watched all of Bong Joon-ho films now. He's massive into that.
I'm only looking for the class divide in every film I watch.
Well, when I watched this time,
wow, Captain America: Brave New World. Holy shit!
You know, it was much more prevalent for me.
Yeah, big
I think
time,
the last time didn't quite get that.
Didn't quite click with it.
But this time, I straight away.
I'm in the same boat as you. This time,
and not to say that this is a film that is inherently about class division, because I think there's so much more to that. But it is just an element of it, and an element that's so prevalent.
It's an element that affects a lot of what
happens
to the character.
It's a very different experience if she's not a housemaid and she's a middle class woman.
100%. Yeah. Right. If this was a movie about the wife of the family. Yeah, completely different story.
And probably a much worse story. And a story we've seen so many times.
Yeah, your husband's cheated on you. Ooh.
Yeah, you know, if Cuarón makes a film about, I don't know how much the story of the family is true to Cuarón's life.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
But you know, if he was making a film about
That's a
how
great point, actually. I haven't thought about that.
He's portrayed as it says here, he's portrayed as Paco, the eldest kid.
The eldest son. Okay.
Which I think he's the one that puts his arm around
He's
her
one who's
when-
much more, affectionate.
but they're all very close with it. But if Cuarón was like, I'm going to make a film about how my dad was cheating on my mum and how hard it was on our family.
Different movie,
Pretty fucking boring.
Yeah.
But that's the masterwork of Cuarón. He knows the more interesting story to tell.
But in the same way that in The Fabelmans, something similar happens. There is like that parental sort of rift in The Fabelmans. But it's more about how he finds escapism in cinema. And he finds that love of film. And in Belfast, it's the turmoil that the country's going through in Ireland at the time, and how he finds sort of escapism and love for his family and things. So I think it's what good filmmakers do, right? They find interesting ways to tell stories that aren't inherently interesting. It's very easy, and not to shit on them because I love them as directors, but it's very easy to be Christopher Nolan and make The Prestige.
Sure, I get what you mean. Yeah.
It's very easy to be Tarantino and make Inglourious Bastards an interesting story.
Yeah.
But for Cuarón to tell a story about a pregnant housemaid in Mexico in the 70s, but tell it in such an engaging
whose story
way.
is not to downplay, but whose story in the grand scheme of things probably seems insignificant to what was happening in the country at that time. As well, when you look at that, you could have made a story about the Corpus Christi massacre as well. You know what I mean? But that is background to.
And that's almost like just a footnote.
That exactly
in the overarching
right.
film.
Yeah.
But I think there's a scene where Cleo goes to the hospital when she's about to have this child,
and then
there's so many other pregnant women, in the hospital. Yeah. And you just think, wow, she is just one of 100 people who are going to try and have a baby.
And they're doing this exact same thing. Might be going through the exact same thing that she is.
Husband might have run off. She doesn't have the money to look after the kids. Might lose a job. Might not. Baby might not survive. It's just you're just looking at one person's story when 100 people's stories are happening that same day. But it's just told in such an effective manner. But because it feels
so real and authentic too, is the reason why I think we connect with it as an audience. There's this universal feeling through how specific this story is as well. I feel like if it is such a broader story, we sit back and go, this is 2015 minutes of black and white. Whereas it's a quite intimate, authentic story, and that's why I think it's so easy to connect with. I think that's
I was properly drawn in.
It's hard not to be,
especially this time
because of how well it's made. Though,
the 2 hours 15,
it's a quick 2 hours.
It was a much faster experience for me.
I had remembered the end. And So when they're on the way to the beach, I'm like, oh my, wow, we're
here already. Yeah.
But I mean,
like you were saying, so many of the scenes are they're just long scenes, so you're stuck in these moments sort of for a while.
You almost get I mean, I know that there are way more. It almost feels like there's maybe 6 major scenes.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah. You're probably right. Yeah.
Right? You've kind of got the intro and then the first date.
Yeah.
And then after the first date, and then you've got sort of when
tracking him down.
Then you've got the Corpus Christi thing.
Yeah. And then you've got the hospital, and then you've got the beach.
So it feels like, and I know you could boil down every film that way, but it feels like it is just these little vignettes, but that's
so
the slice of life thing, right?
That's true. But it's so, it feels like every one of those moments is so intentional. There's no filler, there's no fat, this is just, everything to tell this story is there. It's a lean cut of meat. But that's what Roma is.
Even if it is just a minute of a static camera just watching people, clean up the house.
Yeah.
It
says so much more than
that's so effective.
Yeah.
I mean, that scene where she comes down and has to turn all the lights off. And
it's like a 360 shot.
Great shot.
I mean, that's her turning lights off in a house.
It's
wow.
It's done by Alfonso Cuarón.
That's right.
But when
I read that they had 45 cameras for that shot.
Really?
I'm sure I read that. Yeah.
Wow.
But when you read about what went into making the film look the way it looked,
$50 million.
Because it was shot in color.
Yes,
and then converted to black and white.
Yeah.
And when you're shooting in color and then
I'm shocked Netflix haven't done the
color
of Roma oversaturated. You remember in Entourage when they do the regrading of Queens Boulevard? I don't know how all over Entourage we are, and they oversaturated. It's this completely different movie. It would be funny, but I'd fucking hate Netflix for it if we just saw this.
I mean, we've got a black and white.
oversaturated version.
We've got a black and white cut of Parasite.
That's true.
Yeah, well, I was
So,
thinking,
why can't we do it the other way around? Yeah.
It was 45 different camera positions they did for that.
Wow.
Turning off the light scene.
But just the detail that they had to go into, so they had to make sure that they were wearing all of the right colours.
Yeah.
Because obviously different colours are going to show
Come
up
off
differently in
different
black and white
lights,
because you've only got, monochromatic to work with.
Yeah.
I think the tiles in the house were yellow originally.
Okay.
And then they
had to
filmed it
change
and
it.
they were like, oh, that doesn't look right. So we're going to paint them green
And then,
because that's going to show up as a different shade of black and white.
Wow.
And that's the thing, you can't just go, oh yeah, it's going to be in black and white, there's no colour. Because the shade changes, the light changes.
Yeah.
Like the sheer amount of craftsmanship that went into the making of this film, that alone is just astonishing. Like I said, it is genuinely, from a cinematography perspective, one of the best films I can remember seeing in a good long while.
What, like, a question for me and people maybe, what do you think black and white brings to this? Because I was thinking that watching it, because I think, like we talked about period drama, but I think it's crisp.
That's
so
it's not,
in that
it's not
way,
a memory thing. Or else you'd kind of make it a bit more grainy. And
exactly.
soft.
But I do think the black and white does take you back.
Yeah,
there's a nostalgia to it.
Yeah.
But I think as well, taking away the color makes me focus on other things so much more as well.
Yeah.
I think if you're intentionally making it beautiful in the sense of like this colorful, rich, vibrant film, it may take away from those smaller moments, those smaller details where I'm sitting there going like, oh, I'm much more focused on Cleo right now because I don't have lots to, but there is still so much happening as well. I don't know whether that's the intention, but maybe.
I think you're pretty spot on. I think it does make you sort of pay attention to different things other than just the visuals. And but I think it makes that visual storytelling stuff that I was talking about before much more impactful. It reminded me a lot of, it's like Cuarón sitting back and looking through an old family photo album.
Right.
Like it's like him flicking through these old family photos of his life.
Yeah.
Or it's just because he didn't want to use the, generic piss yellow filter that every film uses when it goes to
So fair point.
Every Hollywood film that goes
Netflix
to
are like
piss yellow.
Netflix are like, we need to make this look more Mexican. And they're like, how about we just do black and white? They're like, more Oscars, you say? That's probably what
like even one of my I absolutely adore Sicario.
Yes,
but
I just thought of Sicario.
But how fucking yellow is Sicario?
It is yellow.
And when you go back to America, it's blue.
Yeah, but how are you supposed to know you're in Mexico if it's not yellow, man? That's American logic.
It's so annoying.
We've praised this film, and rightfully so, but comparatively to the other films that went up against.
What did you
So, obviously, Roma won for Mexico. Then we had Capernaum, which came from Lebanon.
Oh, that's a good movie.
Cold War from Poland. Never Look Away from Germany, and Shoplifters from Japan.
I haven't seen Never Look Away. I've seen that's a stacked year.
So I've seen Capernaum, Cold War, and Shoplifters. So I'm the same as you. I haven't seen Look Away.
Yeah.
And we've talking about, we haven't done any of his films, but Hirokazu Koreeda, we haven't done any of his films on the podcast, I believe.
No,
but we all saw
Monster
together.
Yeah.
Shoplifters is incredible.
great.
Oh my God, the hug in that film is like one of the best movie hugs of all time. Cold War is as depressing as it sounds, but another black and white film and stunning cinematography.
Yeah.
And Capernaum is, that's another pretty bleak movie
bleak,
as well, but it's
amazing.
Incredible film.
That
so
little guy.
It's very, and I think Never Look Away is also quite a
I need to see that.
coming of age romantic drama.
Okay.
But
I'm sold.
It's
my jam.
That's 3 hours and 8 minutes long.
Oh,
All
that's
right, we
not
didn't
my
have to cover
jam.
that.
Jam.
Nice while it lasted.
Set within the Nazi party, so I think you know kind of what movie you're getting into there. So yeah,
Wait,
very
coming
much.
of age romantic drama set in the Nazi party, or are those
from what
two
I can
different films?
I
that
do
you-
want to see this.
From what I can see, yeah. As a child during Nazi-era Germany, Kurt visits an exhibit of degenerate art with his beautiful young aunt. While there, he's mesmerized by the girl with blue hair, which is a painting. And then I'm seeing schizophrenia. I'm seeing sterilized and murdered under Nazi euthanasia program.
All right, I'm back in.
Yeah.
It's a fortune in two parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So his auntie is part of the
Eva
National
Braun.
Social Women's League. Yeah. Okay, cool. So in saying that though, but like comparatively to that, that's some banger films
Yeah,
I'm up
it is
against. But
banger
for
film.
me, Roma does stand up.
Yeah, it does.
Above the rest. Yeah.
On the best actress in a leading role thing.
Yes. Yeah.
So she was Yalitza Aparicio, who played Cleo.
Yes.
Was nominated. She was up against Glenn Close for The Wife, which I've not seen.
She is
This
good
is
in
when
that.
Olivia Colman won.
Yeah, so
The
Olivia
Favourite.
Colman for The Favourite, which is a banger of a performance.
Great movie, great performance. Yes, agree.
Lady Gaga for A Star Is Born,
I can understand it.
and another film I've not seen, Melissa McCarthy for Can You Ever Forgive Me?
No, and I get that. Yeah, because that's a good movie, and she's
It
really
was
good. In
good,
that.
yeah.
I like that movie.
That was one of the first bets I put on the Oscars.
Was Melissa
Olivia Colman.
Olivia Colman,
Because she was like way second
Yeah.
favorite. Glenn Close
Yeah.
was such a favorite that year.
and then bang.
What a great speech as well.
Yeah,
Olivia Colman.
totally. But I just
I do love
thought,
Olivia
I
Colman.
feel like Olivia Colman's going to get this.
Yeah, and then rightfully so because she's incredible in that film. So yeah, and that's a stacked category that year as well.
Yeah.
That's awesome for her to be in that.
The talks
In
with
that
those
group.
four
Companies,
people. Yeah,
Glenn
yeah,
Close and
absolutely,
Olivia
yeah.
Colman.
Because she would have been there, first ever film.
Yeah.
Not an actress.
the
Like, that's
Oscars.
amazing.
Just like, hey guys,
That is amazing.
hey Glenn, hey Olivia, hey Lady Gaga. Yeah.
Some of the other film, like it did win Best Director,
Yes.
Yes, it
which
did, yeah.
Alfonso won over Spike Lee for Black Klansman.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. Wow.
fair.
Yeah.
Yorgos Lanthimos,
For The
another
Favourite.
friend of the show, for The Favourite.
Yeah.
Adam McKay for Vice.
I'll defend that. I like Vice.
I
I'm like
like
the only
that.
person.
I like that.
I like
mean,
Adam McKay.
I like
I
Adam
do.
McKay, yeah.
I do.
And
except
Paul
don't look up on it.
Pawlikowski
For Cold War. Yeah.
Okay.
which Cuarón won. And it
I
also
get fair
won-
though because Cold War is just shit directed out of it. Like that is a stunning looking film.
Yeah.
Beautifully choreographed dancing.
Can we talk about 3 international directors? I know The Favourite is in English.
But no, he's
Yeah.
In terms of Paul Cuarón
Yeah.
and Yorgos.
Yeah,
3
yeah.
international directors up there.
That's
Best
cool.
director. That's
Quite
awesome.
stunning,
That
actually.
is
Yeah.
cool.
And then Best Cinematography, which it also won.
Yeah.
Where is that in this list? Why is it not at the top? That's the most important
I
category.
know. They call it a below the line. I'm like, that's bullshit, man. Since
So it's Star Is Born. Yeah.
I'll defend Star Is
Cinematography.
Born. I think it's a very
fine
well.
film. I don't remember it being overly.
Oh, some of
great
those
look.
concert scenes are shot pretty well though.
Never Look Away.
Okay, yeah. That's an fuck, who's in that? I know the movie, but yeah.
The Favourite, Cold War, which Cold War was nominated for quite a few. Good year for international films. And then Roma won.
Yeah.
The cinematography in The Favourite is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Yes,
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah. And then very much sort of
but very
replicated again.
deserved, I think, across the board.
Yeah. I
think so
for
too.
Roma.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah,
it
I
didn't.
agree.
I don't think it won anything that I was like, yeah, I shouldn't have won that. But I don't think it, didn't win anything where I'm like, maybe it should have
It
won.
wasn't snubbed on many things, which is quite incredible. So
This was the same year that we got Rami Malek winning for Bohemian Rhapsody and Green Book winning Best Picture. So,
so
while
we got to
did
take
have
away
some-
take away the wins where we can.
Yeah, you got to take the good with the bad.
You got to take the
And
good
the
with
bad is bad. Oh, that was the year Bohemian Rhapsody won Best Editing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I saw Carsten. Carsten's just
so-
done a video on that.
Josh told us he watched Better Man last night, and then when you watch Better Man and you reminisce on Bohemian Rhapsody, you go, "How the fuck did Bohemian Rhapsody win a single thing?"
I did think that.
Or A Complete Unknown.
Last night.
Or a
Or a
complete,
complete
yeah,
no.
both, yeah.
That's a fantastic example
Yeah.
of how to do, because obviously Better Man's got the whole gimmick. Call it a gimmick for the sake of it.
No, but yeah,
The gimmick of the monkey thing, right?
Yeah.
Complete Unknown is just a straight up and
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
But it's more
Yeah,
reflective
yeah.
of Bob Dylan than.
But it's great.
Yeah.
Bohemian Rhapsody sucks.
Yeah. But here we are.
But glad Roma won a couple.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
I think any time an international film can win an Oscar,
Yes.
and then win a
praise that,
couple as
right?
well.
Yeah.
So I
I
think it
think,
went home with 4 in the end.
I mean, we've spoken. It is a sad film,
Yes, yeah.
but at the same
Inherently,
time,
yeah.
I find it very uplifting.
It's very uplifting, especially at the
It's
end.
really
yeah.
like
Yeah.
emotional,
Yeah.
in a good way. Like,
And sort of where
way-
it leaves the story
Yeah.
is quite uplifting.
the
yeah.
way
it
the
earns
family
its
and
emotion.
her, yeah, it does, it really does.
It
There's
never-
there's hope at the end when you
There's-
see yet
yeah.
another plane leaving away, and she
Yes.
sort of then does look to the sky.
Yeah.
And she's like, maybe we
Yeah,
should get
yeah,
out of there one
yeah.
day. So,
But just also the
and
way
we know
that,
she did. Then she became
Yeah,
she was starring in Alfonso's films, right? So,
yeah, the way they really act like
Yeah.
she's completely irreplaceable part of the family.
Yeah. And that
really,
very much comes
really
to
nice.
a climax at the end. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So
she's not gone on to do much
No,
since,
No.
which is a shame.
So-
But at the same time, like,
maybe she does.
and not to diminish her performance, but you wonder, is she a good actress or was she just very good
for that role,
for
that role?
and we just haven't seen enough with her to judge that yet. Like that's the thing, right? So,
But I think you can definitely get people like that who it's like, yep, they are great for that character, that role, that film.
Yeah.
But maybe not other things.
I think about the guy who played the main captor in Captain Phillips.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, you think that, like he is perfect in that role, and he's done smaller
He has
roles
done
since
some
then.
other stuff, but they're generally a similar role.
They're a similar role. He
you're
plays
not going to
like
see him playing the lead in a rom-com.
he's like the leader of a crime. He's in. No, he's
Look
in.
at me. I am the lover now.
No. He genuinely is in a rom-com. No. I don't think I'm making this up. I think he is in. Sorry, now we're on this. You're all coming along for this right now. By the way, Captain Phillips, fucking fantastic. Barkhad Abdi is who
end of
I'm
that
thinking
film.
of.
Hey, look, there's a plane.
Oh,
What a way to end this on.
Yeah.
Oh fuck! I'm gonna hate myself if he's not. Oh, he was in Grimsby. I'm not gonna count that.
So, Yelitsa Aparicio had a degree in early childhood or preschool education.
Oh, okay.
So she was, and I think I read that she said the only acting she'd ever done in her life was when she had to lie to her parents or her teachers.
yeah. Okay.
You know, so she we can't stress this enough. She was not an actress.
Yeah. And
She was
then-
basically a preschool teacher from a little Mexican town, and Cuarón was like, "Please be in my movie."
Yeah, and then
And
gets-
suddenly nominated for an
yeah,
Oscar.
with Glenn Close and Olivia Colman, and
I'm
Lady
thinking of
Gaga.
something
Yeah,
different.
yeah.
I'm thinking of something. He was in The Curse, is what I've seen him in recently. I was like, what was he in that was funny? But it was The Curse. It's not a romantic comedy, but he was in The Curse.
Oh, you got my hopes.
I
up
feel
then.
like he's a
Sorry.
little bit similar in The Curse as
It
well.
very much similar in The Curse. But then because he was in
He's the same
he was in
dude.
Good Time and Blade Runner 2049 playing very similar sort of like,
I've seen a
villain
I don't know
characters.
what the actor's name is, but I've seen a meme of some like sort of like Latino actor and his Wikipedia filmography.
that's
in everything
fabricated.
is just
Yeah.
Hector.
Yeah. It's fabricated,
know-
because he played a guy called Hector in the Fast and Furious movies, and then that someone edited it all.
Oh,
so-
that's
which-
a shame.
No, he
I thought
does.
he was
No.
genuinely just Hector.
No, I've looked that up. So
I can be
trust
in
me,
this film, but I have to be called.
I've
Yeah.
seen that.
Or his name's just Hector, and he's like, I just don't get it when people refer to him by different. It's like the Simpsons thing. It's like when I tap on your foot and say Mr. Thompson,
You are,
I think he's talking to you.
Star ratings.
Yeah.
We'll start with Kieran, who watched it for the first time.
I think the film on its own, right? If you're just looking at it as the movie, it's a 4.
Sure. Yeah.
I think when you take into consideration her performance and who she is, the autobiographical elements, and the sheer technical brilliance,
Yeah.
you know, it's got to be a 4.5.
Yeah. Which is basically a 5.
Which-
for you,
for-
right?
yeah,
Yeah. It's a Kieran 5,
I
right?
think
Yeah. To go that high that early.
It's stunning. I don't think it hit me emotionally as much as I probably expected it to.
Sure.
But I find with films, it's and we've spoken about this before, it's just mood, right? It's headspace. Like I could have watched this at a completely different time.
Yes.
And been
And been
completely
so affected
Well,
by
it's almost
it.
like Josh said. It is a sad movie, but it's not one where like you're in absolute tears. Like it's just a more authentic portrait of a time, and it just happens to have sad elements.
And
I
it's
think,
not like we talked about it being kind of soap opera-y or like telenovela
Yes,
being
sure,
Mexican.
yeah.
But it's
More
not
than- yeah.
melodramatic.
No, that's the difference, right?
You know,
It's,
like the emotion feels human, it feels genuine. And
you could do that
it feels
same
earned.
storyline on Days of Our Lives, and it'd be a completely different feeling.
Yeah,
right?
Cuarón has enough respect for his audience to go, I'm going to tell it in this way that feels genuine and authentic. So I think, I'm pretty comfortable with the 4.5.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Josh?
The first time I watched it, I rated it a 4.
Yep.
But I definitely 4.5 this time.
Yeah,
I
well.
definitely, as I said before, watching a lot of other
Yes.
films, talking about a lot of his films, Bong Joon-ho films, picking that whole
I
thing
think
up.
that's sort
it
of
really
changed
brings
it,
an
hasn't it?
extra to it, and like technically and to watch, it's just stunning.
Yeah.
I wasn't in the mood to watch it when I watched it.
I forced myself to watch it.
forced to watch it.
Yeah.
But
By the end,
15 minutes in,
Yeah.
I was
you were ready to go.
I was in.
You were ready,
Like,
and then
and it's it's slow.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's
And
a
I
very
don't
patient.
generally vibe with slow cinema.
No,
Sure,
but
but
it really hooks you in.
Yeah, I did joke to my partner because that sort of opening shot where it's a top-down view of the driveway with just like sort of like water going over it. She's like kind of
for
mopping
quite
it
a
up.
while.
For like 2 or 3, 4 minutes. I just turned to my partner and I was like, "This is the whole film, you know, right?"
We're just gonna watch various things go through various planes go
There'll
through
be
the
a
sky.
bird. There'll be a plane.
She's like, "Ah."
Wait till you see the dog shit later on. You'll be
About
riveted.
2/3 the way through that, Susie's like, "Okay, I'm done with the water."
It plays a big narrative part towards the end as well.
It does.
Yeah.
It is the most.
Because you think about the waves later on in the film. It's
totally.
his parallels of how he opens and closes the
similar.
film.
There's so much.
And also, like you were saying, how it moves time forward.
Yes. Yeah.
You keep thinking back to
That water through.
cleaning that.
Yeah,
Very symbolic.
There's also sort of an element, I don't know if this was intentional of Cuarón or not, but like I find that it was sort of, I guess, a statement about like how pointless cleaning is, but like as an element of life, right? Not just it's cleaning is not just a metaphor for cleaning, it's a metaphor for like the things that you do and you constantly keep doing.
Up. Yeah.
But it's always just going to end up getting a dog shit on it again.
Yeah.
You know?
Me and Susie said towards 2/3 the way through, I'm like, why do they have this dog?
Yeah.
No one interacts with it.
No.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Like,
It just
literally,
barks all day and shits on the driveway.
Yeah. They have
like
to
me.
hold it every time they walk out. They never take it for a walk.
But is it just part of that perfect suburban family life?
Yeah.
You need
Yeah.
you need the car and the kids, dog and fence. And,
the big American car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that because he's driving a Ford as well.
Big, massive that can't fit in the
Can't fit in
driveway.
the driveway.
That is funny when
right.
she's
the
driving
scene
it.
where he keeps backing it out to try and get it to fit in his nose.
perfectly.
And she just comes in and yeets it down the driveway.
So
Like,
fucking
fuck
good.
your Ford.
Smashing walls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the other interesting thing
Oh yeah.
is that house is the house across the street from Cuarón's childhood home.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So you think about that
So
as
it
well.
is
that
on the same street.
He's literally facing it.
you know, you
know, opened his front door
Yeah.
every day and seen that house. I
But
don't
do
know
you know-
why he filmed it in that one. And
But
not
do you know what I think with that? Is that also an extension of like, oh, that is the house maybe I wanted to live in growing up.
Yeah.
There, you think about maybe that as well.
Yeah.
Like, is that
Yeah, I
like,
think
you know,
his,
is this
his house was number 22
Okay.
and that one's number 21. It's
Right.
It's quite
literally
incredible.
across the road.
Okay.
quite
So
incredible.
that's just, and he like went to relatives' houses and was like, hey, do you have that, you know, table that my mum and dad had when I was a kid?
Oh, I read
That's
that.
cool.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
even the furniture in the
Is the-
house
It's very, very
was
cool.
from Cuarón's childhood. Like, there's just so many details like that. It's like, how can this not be a 4.5
Yeah,
something?
yeah,
Like, that's
you're right.
and not that those things matter,
Yeah.
but I think it just shows the thought process and the emotional involvement
Yeah.
in the film.
Yeah.
Nick, your star rating?
It's 4.5. Like, it's hard not to be. I think it was
Well,
more
after
of a,
what Kieran just said, you can't
yeah. Actually,
How can it not be?
You want to fight?
I fucking hated it. No,
I'm still on 3.5.
it was absolutely 3.5 when I first saw it, but I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that very much has changed in how, like I said, this show I think is opened up a way that I view international film now and look for far more subtext than I probably did before.
Yeah, me
so yeah,
too.
it's a 4.5. There's probably nothing else I can add. Like the elevator pitch would be, I think this is essential Cuarón. I think not just from a passion project point of view, but for an artist who has developed his cinematic style over so much time, and the way he captures time and place and feeling, even through a black and white lens, is truly incredible. It deserved every nomination. It deserved every win.
Yeah.
On a technical level, it's a masterpiece. On a story level, it's very authentic and intimate.
Yeah.
And Ulitz's performance is very mirroring of that. So yeah.
And
This is very
Kieran
essential
said,
Cuarón.
Yeah, as Kieran said earlier, it feels like all his films like leading to him.
100%.
So as you're watching it, I
Yeah.
kept thinking of his other films.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah.
Like
There is
even
a-
like Children of Men, I thought of at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, just the relationship with and dealing with a pregnant woman in a tumultuous time, right? Like it's two different stories, but
There is a scene where they're at the cinema and they're watching a film with 2 astronauts.
oh
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
I thought that might be a little Gravity.
Is that George?
Callback.
Because I was
good
like,
point, actually.
why did he choose that?
Because it's like an astronaut sort of
I
floating in
haven't
space to
seen,
grab another.
yeah.
I haven't
astronaut.
seen Gravity since the cinemas, and I'm scared to. But I'm like, maybe.
But I was like, is that just a little nod?
Nod to
Gravity.
if they ever fucking do that at the Pac Fair IMAX, I'll go. Actually, that'd be worth because that's a
Yeah,
And that's a
Yeah.
great little like 100-minute film. It's short. And
so good. That's all it needed to me. I didn't want to watch Sandra Bullock barking any longer than I needed to. But
so compared to the one other Cuarón film we've watched, not two, as I thought, where does this is this better?
Well,
than
we
Etzimama
all
Tambien,
gave
or do you prefer it?
Etzimama 5 stars, didn't we? I think it was.
I gave it a 4.5.
You gave it a 4.5.
I
You gave
did
it a
give it-
5.
I
I
gave
gave
it
it
a
a 5.
5.
I
Yeah,
think
and I'm
just
still
from
on 4.5.
a relatability aspect, I think I probably prefer Etzimama Tambien.
Yeah, it's definitely
probably
way more fun.
It's way more fun. I think technically, obviously, Roma is incredible, but like you were saying, I don't think he gets to Roma without making Etzimama Tambien.
No,
So-
I mean, and there's 20 years between.
Exactly,
It's the same
yeah,
way that
exactly.
Bong Joon-ho doesn't get to Parasite without
making the exactly, yeah. So I probably lean towards Etzimama Tambien. It's probably far more rewatchable
Yes.
as well,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm a big
Yeah.
I will rate a lot of things on their rewatchability as well. But I don't think that discredits anything that happened.
And it's a lot easier as, guys who were once, teenagers.
Horny teenagers, yeah.
Still a horny teenager at heart.
I was gonna say you don't have to put the prefix of horny in front of it, yeah.
No, it's just assumed. Male teenager.
It's absolutely yeah.
It's like saying stupid American. It's just assumed.
You guys brought this on yourself. You didn't watch Better Man. Fuck you.
It's why good films don't exist.
You
It's
did it
all
to
your fault.
yourself.
But I think it's a lot easier for us to relate to that than to the struggles of a pregnant housemaid.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Right?
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And not that you have to be that person, but we're always going to connect with stuff that feels
In
more,
a different way.
lived
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah.
Agreed.
In the same way that watching, some recent examples, watching A Real Pain.
Yeah.
I can connect with that more than a film about the Holocaust like The Pianist.
Sure.
Obviously, very different perspectives on it, but it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I get the relationship that they have and the characters that they are,
Yeah.
and I see bits of myself in Jesse Eisenberg's character and Kieran Culkin's character,
Rather
I
than
don't really
Adrian
see
Brody, yeah.
much of myself in Adrian Brody. So I think, like personal experience is such a big thing. I'm assuming Etzimama Tambien for you over Roma.
Yeah.
Same for me. But I think, as I kept saying, Roma, as you said, Nick, Roma doesn't happen
Yes.
without everything that's come before it.
Yeah.
It's an incredible feat of cinema.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I'm very glad I got to rewatch for the show.
What has Cuarón done since Roma?
Disclaimer was his last
Yeah, the
Apple
show,
TV
which
Plus
I
show,
do
which
wanna
came out.
watch.
I haven't seen yet, but yeah,
I do want
I've
to
heard it's
watch, but he
incredible,
hasn't
so-
done a film yet.
No, so 2018. So
Yeah.
I think that
6
might be his
years.
biggest gap.
Yeah.
Let's just having a look here. So there's 7 years between Children of Men and Gravity.
But I know he was working on Gravity for a long time, so
And Roma was his first non-English language film since Etzimama Tambien.
yeah.
He did Prisoner of Azkaban.
of course, yeah, of course,
The best Harry
Potter film. Agreed. Yep.
Children of Men,
Yep.
Gravity, and then Roma.
Has he
So-
got anything upcoming?
Not according to Wikipedia.
No.
No, yeah, okay, interesting. But
he's a
he is
vegetarian.
always there we go. Always welcome on the show, Alfonso. Anytime we get to watch one of his films is an absolute delight. So
If you ever feel like stopping by the studio,
hey, come on through. The address is no. Well, that's another Academy Award episode wrapped for this section. I guess we're going to go back to our scheduled normal programming with Josh next month. However, we'll give a little tease for the next Academy Awards episode because by the time that one rolls around, the 2024 Academy Awards, the 97th Academy Awards, will have come and gone, and we will be watching any of these potential films. Emilia Perez from France, which one of us have seen on the panel.
I've seen it.
Flow, the animated film from Latvia. The Girl with the Needle from Denmark. I'm Still Here from Brazil. Or Seed of the Sacred Fig from Germany, but it is a film set in Iran. So,
which, based on, we're still in the lead up to the Oscars at the moment.
yes, we're a
Based on
couple
what
of
we've
weeks later.
seen, it's probably going to be either Emilia Perez
Or I'm Still Here.
Well,
So-
they're both nominated in the best film as well, aren't they?
Yes,
So
sorry.
it'd be very
yeah,
weird to
yeah,
win
yeah.
Best International Feature and not be nominated for Best Picture against some of the
Against
other films.
some-
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
So it's probably going to be one of those two.
Yep.
I think we all know which one we'd rather it be.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
haven't seen
yeah.
it yet, but I'd
Rather it be I'm Still
Yeah,
Here.
yeah,
Yeah, I haven't seen Emilia Perez. I'll watch it if we have to, but I'm
Yeah.
not excited to. So,
So yeah, that will be.
but I've seen I'm Still Here, and it's incredible. So,
But before we get to there, we've got a few episodes to go through. And
Yes.
Next up, we are back to Josh's pick, which
Yeah.
Josh.
Kung Fu Hustle.
yes,
Indeedy.
I'm so
With
excited.
Stephen Chow
Yes.
doing everything.
Oh, if we're talking about Alfonso
Yeah.
being an all hands on approach to
Yeah.
Roma, Stephen Chow is an
Yeah.
all hands on
Yeah.
approach to.
Yeah, see, Cuarón's not a real filmmaker. If he was, he would have appeared as Cleo in the film.
playing a pregnant housemaid. Bless
Like
him.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh God.
I would love to see Alfonso Cuarón direct the scene in the restaurant from Mrs. Doubtfire where he has to go back and forth, back and forth. Anyway, that's another podcast. A podcast that'll never happen. But a podcast that does happen is that 1 Inch Barrier. So thank you for watching. All of our socials and Letterboxd are in the description below. Make sure you follow that 1 Inch Barrier on Letterboxd and on Instagram. If you've watched on YouTube, thanks for watching. If you could subscribe and like, that would be fantastic. Let us know what your favorite Alfonso Cuarón film is in the comments. And we may reply to the comment. Who knows?
Depends if Kieran checks the social media or not.
Yeah, it'll be up to that. And then if you're listening as well, you can subscribe on your podcasting platform of preference. And until Kung Fu Hustle, we'll see you on the next episode.
See you then.
Ciao.
Mexican?
No, Steven.
Steven.